There are lots of debates asking whether or not society is in an era of postmodernity or whether we remain in modernity. Remember that modernity started as a result of the Enlightenment and which catalysed the Industrial Revolution. And it was the start of scientific rationality and the belief in science rather than in religion and superstition to explain how society worked and why things happened. So we started to look at how modern society is depicted and how researchers have argued that postmodernity is now upon us, and some believe that we're fully in postmodernity and some believe that we're nearly there but not quite. So you need to know some ideas about modernity and postmodernity, explain them from different perspectives with examples of studies, and evaluate both ideas, and also consider what people have said in response to these arguments. So we started off by organising these ideas in terms of which ones were modern and which ones were postmodern. So if we take modernity first, it's the kind of blue colour ones here, the idea that we've got a state who is elected by citizens, people have a system of democracy, we share our identity through symbols like the Union flag. Everyone understands what those symbols mean and they believe that that's something that unites them. We've continued to have technological advancements, obviously starting again, as I said, with the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, but it certainly improves mechanisms and also medicines to ensure that the population are well enough to work. We continue to use production en masse, so the introduction of Fordism and the production line has made lots of consumer goods cheaper, affordable to anybody, and that's something that has spread globally. The decline of religion, the rise in scientific rationality continued. We know about secularisation and the population attending church and saying that they believe in a faith is reducing. There's greater personal freedom. We're starting to live in a separatist society. We can see evidence of this where, as a result of the Industrial Revolution and urbanisation, families started to become nuclear where they had been extended. There's almost no need for those extra bodies. Infant mortality rate has started to slow, and so we've got a system where we have the nuclear family and it's about you and your family, and actually the other people don't matter so much. We have a powerful state and control based around politics. There is a massive imbalance of equality, even though there's a shared culture and language which people identify and follow and like to be part of, linked back to this idea of the patriarchal use of the Union flag. As we said before, it's from the early 18th century Enlightenment, scientific rationality, etc. We have a capitalist society which depicts itself in private ownership and wage labour, and there is unequal wealth distribution. So those who believe that we're actually in an era of postmodernity feel that the postmodern era evolved from the 1970s. It's a period in which we can't falsify or prove anything, which is known as anti-foundationalism. There is no sure foundation to knowledge or society, and it's certainly not measurable. We have a society which is unstable, fragmented, media saturated, and it's global. So linking in with what you've learnt in terms of media and mass media in society, we certainly know that there is a range of choice, almost an endless choice. Not that Marxists would believe you, but we do see this massive choice in society. Baudrillard talks of knowledge as being central. We value in knowledge and services. We're not valuing the consumer goods that came to us off the production lines anymore. We now put value on knowledge and services and quality in terms of the way that people understand things and interact as being more powerful and central to society than consumer goods. It believes that structural theory are meta-narratives, which means big stories or grand stories. So all other theories that have been created, functionalism, Marxism, are just these stories that people have come up with, and actually, whilst they're valid, they're not certainly applicable to the postmodern society as they see it today. And actually, it's just someone's idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. There's the idea of relativism, that the truth is personal to you. If you believe something, then it's correct. It's kind of linked to the idea of phenomenology, the idea that you believe something and therefore that's true and valid. However, somebody else might not have the same opinion as you, and that's okay too. We've talked about the no sure foundation of knowledge based on Foucault's ideas, this link to anti-foundationalism as well. We don't know where things are going. We don't know if we'll ever be able to work out why people are here and the purpose of life and all that kind of thing. Again, the idea that structural theories are mythical, they're meta-narratives, they're only true to the original theorist, they're not provable, they're not falsifiable, and lots of people have different ideas and each one is as valid and equal to the other. We see a blur between fiction and reality. We can think about hyper-reality and the things that we've learned in media here, and the idea that people can't distinguish between fiction and non-fiction. Lyotard also talks about the reality of each person. So this idea of relativism again is that everybody's idea is of equal value, and if you believe in something, that's absolutely fine, and of the same value to someone else that believes in something, regardless of their power status, which postmodernists believe is equal nowadays. People continue to live this separatist society with greater personal freedom. People can choose to present themselves in any way, that shape or form that they like, and that's celebrated in terms of this individual identity, or collective if that's what you choose. So Foucault talked about truth being relative and subjective, so it's personal to you. Discourses determine our views, so the way that we've kind of been, the things that we've been exposed to in our experiences, and the dominant ideas do determine our view. In that, a historic superstitious discourse would believe that a doctor is a witch, whereas now we have this system where it's not so deterministic. We seem to make our own decisions a bit more. We've also got Lyotard, who you've met during your media studies unit. Knowledge is the language that describes how we see the world. It's like symbolic interactionism. We all agree with the same symbol, and we understand and present our knowledge through language. And we celebrate different ideas and tolerate different differences too. So we have a diverse society who believe in different religions, beliefs, etc., speak different languages, and we tolerate that, and that's seen within postmodernity. We see grand theory, or structuralism certainly, as a system of recreating inequalities, and as we've mentioned before, are meta-narratives, or known as big stories. And finally, our third key postmodernist view is Baudrillard's theory, linking that knowledge is central to society. Things like tangible consumer goods are not as valuable as they once were. Knowledge is a currency, so we use knowledge to interact and to show our status and our power in a form of a sign or symbol known as a simulacra, where a newspaper, textbook, TV advert, or anything that we see presents what we know about something, and we absorb that and enjoy that and see that as authoritative. Signs are used more than real-life interaction or investigation, so we use hyperreality far more than actual experiences. So for instance, when there was an earthquake in Japan, I only knew because I looked at the signs and symbols and the information in a newspaper. I didn't actually go there. So I'm experiencing someone else's life through hyperreality. We spent time comparing the similarities between modernism and postmodernism, the differences and the links to other theories. There's certainly links to phenomenology with postmodernity, where we think about people's knowledge as being central to society, and also the fact that people have equal views, they have different views, but they're of all equal value, so it's all relative. He also talks about the similarities in the separatist nature of society, with celebration of symbols between modernism and postmodernism. However, in postmodernity they believe that people are more equal, and that's certainly different to modernism. Postmodernity as an idea is being criticised in itself by saying that grand theory is a meta-narrative. Other theorists have said, well, postmodernity is a grand theory and therefore it's a meta-narrative, which some postmodernists have accepted and considered in their writing. However, that's obviously one of the main criticisms of this. So they're unable to explain power and inequality. The freedom and ability to construct our own identity is restricted through things like poverty. So structuralists have said we still have an economic base, i.e. the Marxists, and so we can only show our identity if we have the money to do so. The assumption that audiences are passive is quite naive, in that many people are able to determine between fiction and reality. They enjoy hyper-reality, they enjoy interacting in social media network sites, however they know what's real and what's not. Human rights violations are justified through the concept that all knowledge is true and equal. If we say that everybody's knowledge is true and equal, then that would suggest that mass genocide and ideas that are that commit state crimes against other people are valid and true, because that's what someone believes. And certainly there is a concern that people can use this as a way of justifying their antisocial activities. It's also a pessimistic view of the Enlightenment. Harvey said that we're closer to the truth than ever before, where in postmodernity it's the idea that we've kind of the truth has been found, and there's no key truth to society, and we'll never find it. Whereas actually continual scientific developments and research give us more and more information. I always repeat the example of when scientists found the atom and said that's the smallest thing in the world. Quote from Phoebe in Friends. When they broke it up, they found that they actually found the microatom. And the point of that is that we don't actually know what we're going to find. And so science continues to develop, despite the fact that postmodernists said that there's actually no real truth.